But we are misleading young people when we tell them that marijuana is just like having a beer. It's not. And the marijuana that kids are smoking today is not the same as the marijuana that Jeb Bush smoked 40 years ago.
Let's talk about marijuana. Do you think marijuana should be legalized?
I do not. When we legalize marijuana, we're sending the signal to young people that marijuana is just like a beer. It's not. It's not. If we want to treat marijuana as a medicine, fine.
So you feel comfortable with medicinal marijuana? If
it's properly regulated like a medicine, which it's not, by the way. I mean, you know, you've been to LA. All you have to do is walk down Venice Beach. Anybody can get medicinal marijuana. It's not a medicine. It's not a medicine. It's a recreational drug right now.
The war on drugs has been a failure. But I'll end with this. That doesn't mean we should be legalizing gateway drugs. And if Senator Paul thinks that the only victim is the person, look at the decrease in productivity. Look at the way people get used and move on to other drugs when they use marijuana as a gateway drug. It's not them that are the only victims. Their families are the victims too. Their children are the victims too. And their employers are the victims also. And that's why I'll enforce the federal law. I'm not against medical marijuana. We do it in New Jersey, but I am against the recreational use of marijuana.
You said marijuana is a gateway drug. If you were president, would you return the federal prosecutions in the states like Colorado, Washington State?
Yes.
Go after. So
yes, sir.
If somebody's enjoying that now in their state, if you're president, that's getting turned off.
Correct.
I'm elected to make these decisions. I'll make the decisions, and I'll make it in time for Friday.
And our elected representatives have spoken to us too and told you that what they want to do. So you found out my daughter died, Governor.
Listen,
I was wondering what the holdup is. It's been like 2 months now.
Sir, because these are these are complicated issues. And I know. Listen, no, I know you think it's simple and it's not.
We've had
I know. Listen, I know you think it's simple and it's not. It's simple for you. It's not simple for me. I wish for the best for you, your daughter, and your family, and I'm going to do what I think is best for the people of the state.
Here's the thing: is he doesn't want to make it about medical marijuana. But what if New Jersey's medical marijuana contradicts the federal law? He's saying he will send the federal government in and he will enforce the federal law. That's not consistent with the 10th Amendment. It's not consistent with states' rights, and it's not consistent with a conservative vision for the country. I don't think we should be sending the federal police in to arrest a mother and separate them from their child for giving a medicine to their child for seizures.
And Jake,
I want to bring in Ms. Fiorina. I want to bring in Ms. Fiorina on this issue.
I very much hope that I am the only person on this stage who can say this, but I know there are millions of Americans out there who will say the same thing. My husband Frank and I buried a child to drug addiction. So,
many people on social media wanted us to ask about marijuana legalization. Senator Paul, Governor Christie recently said, quote, "If you're getting high in Colorado today, where marijuana has been legalized, enjoy it until January 2017, because I will enforce the federal laws against marijuana." Will you?
I think one of the great problems and what the American people don't like about politics is hypocrisy. People who have one standard for others and not for themselves. There's at least one prominent example on the stage of someone who says they smoked pot in high school. And yet the people who are going to jail for this are poor people, often African Americans and often Hispanics. And yet the rich kids who use drugs aren't. I personally think that this is a crime for which the only victim is the individual. And I think that America has to take a different attitude. I'd like to see more rehabilitation and less incarceration. I'm a fan of the drug courts, which try to direct you back towards work and less time in jail. But the bottom line is the states, we say we like the 10th Amendment until we start talking about this. And I think the federal government's gone too far. I think that the war on drugs has had a racial outcome and really has been something that's really damaged our inner cities. Not only do the drugs damage them, we damage them again by incarcerating them and then preventing them from getting employment over time. So I don't think that the federal government should override the states. I believe in the 10th Amendment, and I really will say that the states are left to themselves.
I want to give the person that you called a hypocrite an opportunity to respond. Do you want to identify that person?
Well, I think if we left it open, we could see how many people smoked pot in high school.
Is there somebody you were specifically thinking of?
kids who had privilege like you do don't go to jail, but the poor kids in our inner cities go to jail. I don't think that's fair, and I think that we need to acknowledge it, and it is hypocritical to still want to put poor people in jail.
I don't want to put poor people in jail, Rand.
Well,
here's the deal.
You oppose medical marijuana?
No, I did not oppose when the legislature passed the bill to deal with that very issue. That's the way to solve this problem. Medical marijuana on the ballot was opened up. There's a huge loophole. And it was the first step towards getting to a Colorado place. And as a citizen of Florida, I voted no. What goes on in Colorado, as far as I'm concerned, that should be a state decision. It was the first step towards getting to a Colorado place. And as a citizen of Florida, I voted no.
The thing is that in Florida, Governor Bush campaigned against medical marijuana. That means that a small child like Morgan Hintz that has 500 seizures a day, is failing on 9 traditional medications, is not allowed to use cannabis oil, and that if they attempt to do that in Florida, they will take the child away, they will put the parents in jail, and that's what that means. If you're against allowing people to use medical marijuana, you'll actually put them in jail.
Mr. Buckley actually believes I think he believes we ought to legalize marijuana. I don't. I think that'd be a big mistake. Obviously, there's a report out tonight that 24 years ago, I was apprehended in Kennebunkport, Maine for a DUI. That's an accurate story. I'm not proud of that.
Your question about medical marijuana perhaps opens the door for a greater discussion. Hopefully there's other painkillers that may be just as effective, if not more so, than a drug that many states have banned and the federal government hasn't made legal for just any purpose. Now, if a doctor prescribes and it is in a form like a pill or some type of a form that's not so much a recreational endeavor, I think that's a different discussion. But I'm not one that's in favor of simply creating a whole new avenue for people to engage in a drug that we've at least deemed up until now to be illegal.
Well, I think we need to recognize marijuana has never made anybody a better citizen. I mean, let's just ask ourselves.
Yes,
is this something we want to open it up? I grant you that. But, I mean, the point being, do we really think that marijuana is something we want to encourage people to have greater access to? You ever know any stoners from college? How'd they turn out, Kathy? Just tell me. Okay, case closed.
Why should we be concerned about marijuana, especially getting into the hands of our kids?
The Food and Drug Administration looked at this, studied it extensively, came out saying that it is not an effective medicine. He mentioned multiple sclerosis. National Multiple Sclerosis Society, 2008, looked at it and said, do not use it if you have multiple sclerosis. There's too many negative side effects.
That's another lie. You're getting paid to say what you're saying.
Do you see a scenario under which you would support medical marijuana?
No. The doctors. I mean, that's a call for physicians, and no, I don't think that makes any. That's not what we need to do. If somebody asks me, I'm not for it. I mean, I'm not going to go travel the state, get into debate about what medical marijuana. That's just not. Physicians tell me we don't need that. There's better ways to help people who are in pain. I'm sympathetic that people are in pain, and
when we do things like have our Attorney General and our President say, yeah, marijuana is not that bad, I used it and look how I turned out. Well, that's the problem. But recognize that marijuana is what's known as a gateway drug. It tends to be a starter drug for people who move on to heavier duty drugs, sometimes legal, sometimes illegal.
I don't support the legalization of marijuana. I understand that individual states are going through the debate of its use for medicinal purposes. I know in Florida that debate's ongoing. And as long as it truly is for medicinal purposes, and even at the national level, goes through, for example, the FDA process that any other medicine would have to go through, that's something I'm willing to explore.
What are you going to do for legalizing marijuana if people are willing to follow all of the rules 100%? Legally, federally, and
the marijuana thing is such a big thing. I think medical should happen, right? Don't we agree? I mean, I think so. And then I really believe you should leave it up to the states. It should be a state situation. Because, you have, like I just left Colorado, and I love Colorado, and the people are great. But there's a question as to how it's all working out there. You know, that's not going exactly trouble-free. So I really think that we should study Colorado, see what's happening. But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state.
Colorado. Good idea. Legalizing marijuana, bad idea.
Well, I was told Colorado provided the brownies here today. Look, Colorado is a...
Uh-oh, I just ate them.
Look, your viewership's going to go up 20%.
It's going to go up a lot.
The magical mystery Hannity hour.
Yeah.
Look, I actually think this is a great embodiment of what Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis called the laboratories of democracy. If the citizens of Colorado decide they want to go down that road, that's their prerogative. I don't agree with it, but that's their right.
All right, fair